There are some people that are anti-Zayn that are very pro-Yolanda and saying, which kind of, this is so funny. I just spoke about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and the Yolanda Hadid is on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Interesting how the Real Housewives world has just like taken over. The beginning when I used to watch it, people used to think I was crazy. I only had like a small group of friends that watched Real Housewives, and I stopped watching it for like a season or two, Real Housewives, because it's just like, I don't do yelling very well. But when they have just real situations. Hi everyone, welcome back to No Light Time. My name is Hallie. So grateful to have you all. Okay, let's get into the reading. I don't like to keep intros too long because the beginning already explains everything. If you want to become a member, please check out the membership tab, and yeah, let's get into it. So I am doing 3 people, as I have been doing recently, consecutively in a long video. I will have timestamps up for the video, and thank you all for watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. That indicates to me that you want to see more of this, and I will be logged into your algorithm. Okay, so first I want to start off with Rachel, aka Raquel from Vanderpump Rules. I have been obsessed with the story. Today I'm actually recording it before we see the episode of the big reveal, the season reunion. I've been staying off of social media. I've just been posting and then quickly exiting because I don't want to see any hints about the big reveal, because I'm doing a live about the big reveal straight after I record this at 6:15 Eastern time. That's usually when I do my lives on Wednesdays. And in this live, I want to talk about the big reveal. So I just want to let you know, if you want to check that out, they'll be caught up in this video about it. Okay, let's get back to this. I just wanted to do I've done Ariana, I've done Tom Sandoval, and now I'm doing Rachel, aka Raquel from Vanderpump Rules. So she is James Kennedy's ex-fiance, and I never really understood their friendship. The relationship. I've always watched, except for I've said this before, season 8 and 9. 7 and 8. I didn't really watch. Season 9 was so boring. I watched it even though it was hard to get through, but I was moving to Miami at the time, and I was like, I have nothing really to do but watch season 9 of Vanderpump Rules. So that was really, really boring for me, but I watched it anyways. But I rewatched 7, 8 and 9 during COVID, especially season 7. I had stopped watching it because I had moved to LA at that time. But I've always loved Vanderpump Rules. I watched the first season when Sheena meets up with Brandy from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And so if you haven't watched Vanderpump Rules, I highly recommend getting into it. I think you might see it a little differently than a lot of us that have been invested throughout the years see it, especially because I used to work I've worked in restaurants, and you see that there's so much chaos that happens, and you're like, I wish this was on TV so people could see. So finally there's a show that depicted what I saw working in these restaurants, and it's just so fun, So I want to really do this breakdown on Rachel, and my observation of her throughout the years of being a Vanderpump Rules person is that she never really her energy just read to me as very blasé, didn't have a real personality. But something struck me. I always remember people's stories because I find people's stories very, very fascinating. And I remember her story when she said that she was adopted, and she was adopted by her basically by her mother's sister. Now, I have that kind of adoption in my family. I'm not going to say who. It has happened in a generation before me in my own family, and I've seen the effects of that sometimes. I don't want to tell people's stories, but it can be very, people be like, oh well, at least they got adopted, but you can still feel some kind of abandonment. And I think she, both experiences can be true. I feel like she, from just my understanding, I feel like because of that, she has abandonment issues, but also golden child syndrome. Golden child syndrome is when your parents make up for what they haven't done, what they lack, and so forth and so forth, and put you on a pedestal, buy you tons of gifts, and make you feel special, but the emotion is lacking. And that's why I think sometimes when she's looking at her friends, her former friends, suffering, she can't relate. She doesn't have any emotion, because I think there was a lack of emotion in her family. I think it was very surface level, and I've grown up with people who have parents like Rachel, who just want to be like all about the face. Everything's a facade, but real life things, real life situations, they aren't really good at dealing with. So let's get into this reading. I'm really excited to do this. She has a sun in Virgo. I believe her moon is in Cancer, from what I remember. I couldn't really find anything, but I remember reading something online about it. I didn't want to go back online to do this, to find out, because I did say that I'm staying off social media, and one of the pages I saw this on is posting about Vanderpump Rules. So I wanted to stay offline and not look at it. But I definitely know her sun is in Virgo, and especially sun in Virgos, the shadow side can be very cold, very obsessed with image, and just lack depth. And trust me, I love Virgos. Virgo is one of my favorite signs. My closest friends are usually Virgos and Scorpios, but that doesn't mean every side has its shadow and light. Okay, so with oppression, King of Cups and Six of Crystals, very interesting. I see here that there's deep issues that need to be resolved, clearly, and it's almost like she uses King of Cups, a father figure, to make up Six of Crystals. You see how Six of Crystals is about, which is Six of Pentacles in the traditional deck, it's about somebody giving you things. So, and her relationship, her affair with Tom Sandoval, I think was a stem of her relationship with her dad. And not our parents aren't responsible for everything wrong about us, but our parent-child and other parent dynamic really shapes us. Really shapes us. That's why I've waited so long to get married. I've waited so long to have kids. Not so long, but I've waited this long, because I really want to have a healthy environment for my children. I don't want just to have a child and have them come into a relationship that's not healthy, that's not stable. And I say that to say that I feel like a lot of people just have children, just have kids, just have relationships. They don't understand that the children are being shaped in the process. And it's interesting to me that even when you're adopted, the same can be true, because they say 90% of pregnancies are by accident. I don't know if that's true, but somebody told me that worked at a hospital. I don't know if that's true, but I do know that children are very malleable. Is that the word? I'm gonna say moldable. So yeah, I feel like that very strongly, is that her parents, particularly her dad, and I'm just remembering I think it was season 7 season 8 when Rachel's dad speaks to James, her fiance at the time, in a very inappropriate way, and kind of like bullies her, and it wasn't very mature. And I think her parents are very immature. It seems like she grew up in a very immature, materialistic environment. So with the Tower, I think she's shocking, clearly, a lot of people about her character. But the boss of the deck is Page of Wands. She's almost like adopted a persona. And I did say this before. I forgot I did a reading on Ariana and Rachel before 2 events, and I predicted a lot of what's come out to be true. I predicted that they had a plan, Tom and Rachel, and mostly Tom's plan, to help, to kind of lie to Ariana and say it didn't start when it started. And I strongly, and I'm going to talk about it in the big reveal, I'm really excited for doing that. I strongly feel like some of the producers knew. I strongly feel like Lisa Vanderpump knew. I really feel that. But I think they were waiting to break everything in between filming so that they would get a next season. So because people are like, why would they do that? It's not in their best interest. Vanderpump Rules is going to be over. Of course it's in their best interest to have something, to wait and have something go to the next season. Sheena, who's Ariana's best friend, has even said before she's waited for a story to break in between seasons so that they would get another season. And I really feel like that's what they did. So I feel like Rachel, you know, I just got this epiphany, this download, that Rachel is really good at adopting personas. She's really good, and maybe that's why she calls herself Raquel. She's really good, and this is what happened. I do think there's something mentally not all there, and I think that's one of the reasons why her mother didn't want her and her aunt did. I think she would have been, and I have a similar story. Doctors told my mother that I was going to be, I don't know what the right word to use is, but not mentally coherent. I had a high chance of not being a healthy baby, and I think that's what happened with her. I think we're seeing signs, and I think she is definitely on the spectrum, but I don't think everyone on the spectrum does stuff like this. But I think it's given her a social disorder, if that makes any sense. I'm not trying to insult people that are autistic, because I know some amazing people on the spectrum, geniuses, talented. But something I've known about people on the spectrum, not all, but some, is that they can see something and emulate it, do it very well. Yeah, I was gonna say something about another public person who has autism, but I'll wait for another video about that. So I strongly feel like she has some spectrum-esque, but again, I'm not saying that means she is a bad person or people that are on the spectrum do nasty things to other people. I just think she has been surrounded by the wrong people, and I'm including Lala, including James, including, I wouldn't say Ariana, but she saw them treating each other like that, and she internalized that as, oh, I can do this then. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I can be like this because they do it to each other, you know? And I think she lacks the social capability to differentiate what the levels of wrong, if that makes sense. Even though I do think some of it's very hypocritical, because I don't think James, as much as I actually love James, as much as I love him, I don't think he should be the one speaking or yelling at Sandoval or Lala for that matter. I think the only person that can really speak from a genuine place to Tom and to Rachel are Ariana and Sheena, even though I don't like Sheena. So with 8 of Pentacles, 3 of Pentacles, which is usually, well, in this deck it's crystals, I'm just saying Pentacles, and King of Pentacles, I see very strongly that she's often used in people's games. And her dad, who has a lot of money, her parents have a lot of money, have put a stop to it. They put a stop to everything, and they're like, we're going to stop your money, because I think that they were giving her money. We're going to stop your money, we're going to stop everything. You need to focus on yourself. Keep quiet now, and come back later. enough with the fame, enough, because they don't want her to be famous. They don't want, I think she's also very strict. They're strict but immature. It's very interesting, and I think that's the thing. She's been surrounded by a lot of people, adults growing up, even now, and friends that didn't have clear boundaries, that didn't have, and I'm not condoning her behavior at all. I just think she is socially inept. Is that the word? She can't differentiate clear boundaries on different situations and why it's not okay. I think when somebody does something horrible, it gives her license to do the same, if not worse. So 8 of Swords is Serenity. Right now she's just keeping quiet until the big break happens, so the big reveal happens. Oh my gosh, I really hope. It's the first time I've seen this card like this, and every time I do, it's usually right. When I see a card like this woman looks pregnant. This woman looks pregnant. I'm just gonna leave it at that because I don't usually post about pregnancy. So please let me know what you think. Let's move on. So we're gonna move on to Zayn Malik or Malik. We're gonna do an update. I know some of you have been waiting for it. He's been very quiet lately. Like I said before, I feel very strongly that he's trying to stay low in case. Well, let's see. Let's see. I know that there's new music on the way. I predicted that for this year, but I think he's testing the water to see if people still like him, if people still support him, because there are some people that are anti-Zayn, that are very pro Yolanda, and saying, which kind of, this is so funny, I just spoke about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and the Yolanda Hadid is on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Interesting how the Real Housewives world has just like taken over. The beginning, when I used to watch it, people used to think I was crazy. I only had like a small group of friends that watched Real Housewives, and I stopped watching it for like a season or two, Real Housewives, because it's just like, I don't do yelling very well. But when they have just real situations play out, I love human behavior. So fascinating to me. Okay, so Yolanda, excuse me, Zayn Malik. Okay, so I got this like image of him just quiet, you know, and granted he is being very quiet, but very, very quiet. And Capricorns can be like that sometimes. His sun is in Capricorn, and I feel like Capricorns can definitely have this energy of, let me keep quiet while I do my own thing. I have, my sun is in Capricorn, excuse me, I have a few houses in Capricorn, but I also am an Aquarius, and our main ruler of Aquarius is actually Saturn, which is the same ruler as Capricorn. And Saturn energy is about work, doing, and often in silence. So I see here very strongly the Hanged Man, Queen of Swords, and Two of Cups. He's really working. It's been a long time that he's been working so hard for this, but he's a very diligent person. And with Two of Cups, he wants to restore new relationships. He wants to restore old relationships into a new chapter. That's what I meant to say. And he's tired of the whole people seeing him as a mess, people seeing him as, that's why he's being very quiet publicly, because he wants to be a completely different person. He wants, if past relationships move with him to the next phase of his life, he wants to start anew. He wants to be a different person. He wants to have boundaries. He wants to have health in his life. I think he might have even stopped drinking for a bit. I did say I saw him traveling with friends, going to his roots, going back to his roots, and with divine wisdom, really understanding that all is within, you know. And I used to hear that a lot when I used to practice. I still practice yoga, but I don't teach it anymore. But when I was very intensive in practicing yoga, there is this guru called Patabi Joyce, and he used to say, all is within, all is within. And you know, you can say that all you want, but only until you go through real struggle. I definitely found that during COVID. I went through real struggle and all is within. Every time you think you can't make it, if you're just still, you start to understand that tapping into your inner self and healing that part and really clearing away the clutter and becoming at one with yourself and the connection to the divine, you see that so much more is capable if you're in tune with yourself. And not just the self, like physical self, but the self, the matter, the stardust, you know, the light seeker within us. So with the bottom of the deck being the devil, I feel very strongly that sometimes he still has doubts, he still has insecurities. I think his family means well for him, but I think sometimes they tell him how to live his life. I see one particular sister who's very passionate, who kind of wants him to live a life that isn't his, and I can't stand that. And it comes from a good place. I have to remind myself, when people give me unsolicited advice, I'm like, especially in Aquarius, I can't stand that. Oh my gosh, when you tell somebody something and they're just like, well, just do this, and I'm like, I know what to do, okay, I will figure it out, but in the interim, can you just listen to me? So she just gives him like unsolicited advice and just tells him, do this, do that, and he's like, no, but I'm in the process. And sometimes people just need, and that's the difference between people that I keep in my life and people that I don't anymore. If somebody's willing to listen to what I have to say about my situation, like I am with them, because you know, everything I ask of others, I ask of myself too. If somebody's willing to really listen, really be present. I used to have this friend, we haven't been friends for a long time, but that was the pivotal moment that I decided I don't want friends like this in my life anymore. But he used to always be on his phone constantly when we were together, and I would be telling him a story. When it was time for him to tell me a story, he was very present. He would be like, nah, just talk. He was also Sun and Pisces, and I don't really get along with male Sun and Pisces. But when it was time for me to say how I felt, he would be on his phone like this, and then he wouldn't be listening, and he would just say, oh, well, just do this. I'm like, were you even listening to my story? You know, so how can you give me advice from a caring place when you aren't even listening? And those kind of people, it's not anything bad, they don't mean ill, but it's not coming from a good place. And I think he has to remove himself from getting advice from people, or people that just want to throw it out at him. But there's so much more potential he has than what people are telling him to do. So with Ace of Pentacles, Nine of Cups, and King of Pentacles, I see a lot of, like I said before, music coming that's going to be from his heart and from a different place, a grown place. And I see that coming very soon. Four of Pentacles, Seven of Swords. Four of Pentacles is about when you work on yourself, and Seven of Swords, making clear boundaries. Earth signs are great at boundaries. Capricorn, Taurus, Virgos are really great at being like, no, that's not, that's not for you, that's not for me, we're not good, you know what I'm saying? Earth signs are very, very good at being clear about what they want, going after what they want. That's something I really admire about Earth signs. They can be very clear, set in stone. And he's being very clear here about what he wants and who's coming along with him in the future. So I'm really excited for him. It's going to be phenomenal. Okay, please like the video if you're still watching. Comment below. I'd love to hear what you all have to say. Please be respectful though, like I always say. Okay, so last one is Kanye West. I've been seeing him walking around. I follow this Instagram page called Kanye Posts, And I've been seeing him walking around with like shoulder pads and shoes that look like socks. He's a very interesting person. But still, really one about Kanye, he's very futuristic, very, very futuristic. And I think one of the best things about living in America is, when I first came back here, I was shocked that people lived the way they lived and so forth. And I was coming from a judgmental place. But what I love about this country is you have freedom of opinion. You can say what you want. And I think we've lost that, especially growing up in British culture. I say this all the time. My best friend and I, we have disagree a lot, but I don't call him a nasty word. He doesn't call me a nasty word. We don't end our friendship because we think differently. And it's gotten to, I don't know, I just feel like we need to be less about the cancelling, more about, if it doesn't suit me, just let it go, move on. It doesn't affect the rest of your life. But we've become so shocked and into this person said this, oh my gosh, that it's the end of this person, and I am not into that. So let's get into Kanye West, his updates. I've been seeing Kanye posts, and trust me, I don't agree with a lot of what Kanye says, a lot of what he says. But that doesn't mean I'm going to cancel him. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop playing his music. It doesn't mean, do you know what I'm saying? It's just very, very odd to me that people take this righteous stance. But I'm telling you, I've lived in Hollywood, and I know for a fact, most people that you watch that claim to be good people are not. They are not. So I'm just letting you know that they can act like they're all righteous because they cancel one person 1 week as a scapegoat, but deep down, a lot of them not good people. So some of them are, trust me, a lot are, but a lot of them aren't. So let's get into this. Kanye West. So I've been seeing him out with his wife. I did say he was going to marry somebody. I haven't really been paying attention to her. I don't really think that they are married legally. I think he's over the legal system. I don't see any papers being signed. I think he just decided to call her something else. He decided to call her wife, and then all of a sudden she's a wife. But I did say I seen getting married. Let's see, a long time ago. Almost everything I predicted, except for the Kanye West marriage, has been accurate. I did it 3 years ago when they were having the issues. I said to the date when they were going to announce divorce. I said to the day when they were going to get divorced. I predicted Pete Davidson. It's on my Instagram, so go check it out. Okie dokie. So let's get into this. Kanye West. Okay, so I'm seeing, I got just the image of, like, oh gosh. I got the image of, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like partying, but like making like doing fashion shows with like songs. And I got like a dark environment, very dark, like almost pitch black, and the models like dancing, if that makes any sense. Like that's just what I got. Like, but then there's like a dim light, like different lights that are dim, but it's in the dark. And then I got the song Fade, dun 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 dun. That different images, like almost like shadows. So that's what I got. Very dark energy. I don't think it's gonna last with this woman. I just don't. I think I see a lot of pain. King of Swords, Page of Cups, Nine of Swords. I see a lot of pain. And this is the thing about Earthlight. His sun is in Gemini. I believe he just celebrated his birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Ye. But something that I see about him is that he is in a lot of pain. And as an air sign, other air sign, what's the word for that? Oh my gosh, what's going on with me today? Fellow air sign. We often, and I was telling a friend this yesterday, we often can suppress our emotions, which is not good sometimes. I think sometimes it is good to contain your emotions, then deal with them, you know. But he is just hiding his suffering. And I think he's been suffering for a long time. But he uses women. He uses his genius. He uses clothes. He uses materialistic things to mask how he feels. Very Gemini. Very, very Gemini to do something like that. And he feeds his narcissism. I don't think he's a narcissist, but we all have some form of narcissism. You know, that's how we live our lives. But he feeds his ego. He feeds his narcissism, surrounding himself with people that will tell him yes, you know. He fires a bunch of people that tell him no. And I do appreciate some of that, you know, because I think sometimes people live in such limited capacity that, and I really don't like this about not a lot of people, but just some people. You go to them with a dream and they'll tell you all the ways it can't happen instead of if you believe it will happen, and supporting you regardless. And I think he's encountered a lot of people like that when he didn't have money. So now that he has money, he only wants people around him that will tell him how to make it happen. The only problem with that is sometimes you need to be honest with yourself. And I don't think he's honest with himself. So 4 Pentacles, I see a new venture coming, clothing venture. 6 of Cups at the bottom of the deck. He's just getting like funders together, investors together to form a company, a new company with like eco-wear. It's gonna be like eco-wear. It's gonna be the kind of clothes. Oh my god, I just got this in my head. It's gonna be the kind of clothes you can wear anywhere. So like, oh my gosh, this is what I love about Kanye West though. He's very genius. Very genius. Like, I don't think the world understands what a genius he is. I used to be in music, and when I realized Kanye West's genius was the song Flashing Lights. If you've ever tried to create a song, you know, through software, or because he's only really used software, and it's insane how he taught himself that, which is so insane to me. It's genius. He's a genius. But to create the synthesizer effect, plus to make it like sound, give it a 5D sound, because Flashing Lights has 5D sound, which we're very used to hearing 3D sound, you know, but he creates music that's 5D, which is it's very hard to do. When I heard Flashing Lights, I was like, whoa, this guy is a genius, you know. So yeah, so these kind of clothes are going to be the kind of clothes that you could wear, you could take like in your bag, and like if you're going, for example, to the mountains, you'd be able to wear them in the snow. If you're going to the heat, you'll be able to wear the same clothes. They're going to change their temperature. Wow, it's really genius. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just saw this, but that's what he's working on, and I haven't seen anything about it yet. I don't think anybody even knows about it, but that's what he's working on. Wow, dope, really, really dope. He's telling him he's a genius. So the Star, Magician, 3 of Pentacles. He's gonna be uncancelled after all of this, because they're gonna want a piece of your pie. That's the thing about this cancel culture, is that when somebody does something that people need to buy, all of a sudden they uncancel, you know. And then we don't need something from them anymore. Oh yeah, it's time to cancel that. So 3 of Wands in the Chariot, and then he's going to be working again with crazy fashion houses. And they're all, Anna Wintour too. She never used to like Kanye. You know, Kanye has had a huge impact on fashion, and he will again. Just watch. But she said something about him, and I'm not crazy about Anna Wintour. I think she's she just reminds me of like the old way of doing things in Europe. And you know, I don't have a very good, not necessarily Europe, but that mentality of like, you have to do things this way, especially because I went to a British school, and like I had a lot of teachers that were just like, you have to do it this way, this is the only way. People like that stop innovation, you know. And she said something about him that was very moving. She said that there's nobody like him, which is 100% accurate. She resisted even liking him until she realized he's making waves in fashion. And just goes to show, you know, when you prove people wrong, they'll need you later in some capacity. So I really love that about Ye, and I'm so grateful that you watched this video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Please comment. I love what you have to say. Take care.